Hey guys, I have 3 books that I'd like you to recommend to Nathan and Given. The first book I'd like to recommend is called The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. The Wild Robot is a fictional novel in a 2-book series about a robot named Roz and her struggle to survive on a remote and wild island where she wakes up stranded after she's shipwrecked after a terrible hurricane. At first, Roz is alone and scared because she is terrified of the wild animals and wild environment surrounding her on this island. Roz studies her environment and learns to adapt to it by watching the animals and everything else on the island. Roz eventually befriends these animals who, by the way, are also scared of her, but they're not sure what her intentions are. But once Roz sees the fox is hurt and she finds the fox full of porcupine quills, she pulls the porcupine quills out of the fox, and that's when the other wild animals on the island realize that Roz actually has good intentions and she's not there to harm them. So by doing that, Roz and these animals become friends. And I'll say a quote from the book where Roz says, "I was just a machine. I function. But you, my friends, and my family, you have taught me to live." I think this book would be really good for Nathan and Given just because it has a lot of good family value in it and it shows a lot of kindness. And I think that would be good for both boys. The second book I would recommend for Nathan and Given is The Misadventures of Max Crumbly, Locker Hero by Rachel Renee Russell. This book is also part of a series. It's told from a boy named Max's point of view who wants to be a superhero. Max is new to a school called Southridge Middle School, and he's being bullied by the school bully who goes by the name Thug. Thug shoves him in his locker every day, and this is where Max actually starts writing in his diary and goes on these adventures with himself. Well, one day he's just enraged with anger that he kicks in the back of his locker, and that's where he finds this boiler room this abandoned boiler room where he discovers that he can travel around the school through the air vents. Well, while he's traveling around the school one day, he realizes, he stumbles upon something that actually is how he becomes this school hero. I'm not going to tell you what he discovers, though, because that's a spoiler. But he discovers this, and him and his friend decide that they're going to fix the situation, and that's how he becomes a hero. This book is full of adventure. It's full of lots of humor, and I think both boys would really enjoy this book. Lastly, the third book I recommend for Nathan and Given is The Terrible Two by Drury John and Matt Barnett. The Terrible Two is part of a 4-book series, and it's about a boy named Miles Murphy who has recently moved to a town called Yawny Valley. Miles is not happy about this move to this sleepy town that's just known for its cows. At his old town, he was known as the greatest prankster. Well, when he moves to Yawny Valley, he discovers that they already have a great prankster. Miles gets it in his head that he is going to outprank this prankster. And the only thing is when he first gets to town, he actually gets blamed for a silly prank that happened at the school to the principal. The principal's car is found mysteriously parked on the school steps, and Miles actually gets blamed for it. So he is assigned to buddy up with a school helper named Niles. Well, Miles, like I said, has it in his head that he's going to outprank this great prankster of Yawny Valley. Well, after failed attempts, he decides that he's just going to buddy up with the greatest prankster of Yawny Valley, which also not going to tell you who that is because that you have to discover if you read it. They actually join forces and they make the greatest prank known to the town. This book is also full of humor and lots of silly pranks and adventures. I think that Nathan and Given would really enjoy all three of these books. The books that they read this last 2 weeks, they were full of adventures, they were full of humor, and I believe that all three of these books have a little bit of all that in them. So I believe these 3 books would be something that Nathan and Given would like.